This is an epic lesson on the Kimura. First, I'll show you the basics of the move and how you apply it and how it applies to our strategy. And then we'll show you some ways you can throw this move that will make it literally unstoppable. I'm gonna show you guys how you can catch a Kimura from side mount. Now, incidentally, this kind of builds off the cross-side armbar a little bit because I ended up developing and perfecting this move because of where I end up when going for the cross-side armbar. So let's say Dan's got his arms locked around me, or let's say I even pushed his arm out there. I said, ugh, and now I trap this up here. Now, I build my ramp, I step over, I've got my cross-side armbar. Now, what some guys do is they bend this arm in super tight, and they manage to get it up on their body a little bit. So they flex this up, and it's in here, all right? They're really bending it. So I was up here, I had the thing trapped, somehow they get it up in here. Instead of worrying about fumbling to get this thing back up on my neck where I go do the cross-side armbar, I don't even bother. So what I do is I put my hand on the mat, and I'm gonna drive this knee to the ground while pulling him up straight, as such. Both knees squeeze in super tight, and just drop your nuts on the guy's head. If you put his head and squeeze his head in one spot, he's not gonna be flailing his body left and right to try to get out of it because his head is immobilized. Now, I end up in this position right here. This is the most important part of the move where it gets, kind of cool, not very cool. I want to weasel this across, and in the moment, Dan, slide this way a little bit. Yep, there we go. So I get this arm in. Now I need to get this to his wrist. As I slide this in, I just hook this over the top of his hand here. So I'm here, right here. Dan, go ahead and try and straighten your arm or get out of it. I just have that, it buys me that one last little second so he can't straighten this arm out and maybe pull it back in. So as I'm weaseling this in, I cut this across, and it's like, go ahead and bend your arm, try to hold tight here, down a little bit. So, and then I, as quickly as I can, grab this. Really just wanna isolate that, make sure he can't straighten his arm out to get it off. If I don't have that, Dan, straighten your arm and get it back, go ahead. Oh, it's as simple as that. If I do have this, I have a little bit of control. Grab this, and now I grip here. I just essentially pull this elbow back, twisting at the core. I could easily take his arm and bring it all the way back to here. So again, you plant your hand and drag the guy out by the underhook, squeeze your knees together, and of course don't forget to drop your nuts on his head. Then you gotta switch arms, snaking your hand over so he can't get out easily. And then all at once, the hand that you pulled out goes to his wrist and the other arm weaves in to grab your own wrist. Then you rotate. So memorize that. Now let's focus on what to do if the guy locks his hands together. So let's say I have just a head here. I'm in this Kimura, and now this is locked. It becomes a little bit harder to finish. Dan's gonna show you an unstoppable finish from here, but my traditional finish is always this. Dan's wrist here is always gonna be weaker in this direction than this. You can do a lot more wrist curls like this than you can like this. It's weak pulling this way. Okay, I can bend it this way easier than I can bend it this way. So if Dan has his hands locked, his gable gripped, I'm going to yank in the direction that'll bend his wrist forward. It's the opposite way that my Kimura needs to be finished. So to start this thing off, I give, I wait patiently, wait patiently, wait patiently. Right when he least expects it, bam, all the way up over here, and then you crank back out to the other side. And again, it just kind of exploits that little wrist weakness and makes his arm come undone. Fortunately, you might not have to break the guy's arms apart anymore because Dan has developed the most ruthless Kimura finish that I have ever seen. But before you see that, he's gonna show you a couple ways that he likes to grab Kimuras to begin with. By the way, we didn't realize how loud the air conditioning was when we filmed this, so sorry. Shuts off in a minute.
You know what, I wanna show two ways to grab a Kimura too, because a lot of people screw this up. But I wanna show what the basic Kimura is, and I wanna show two ways to get a better hold of it.
Okay.
All right? Okay, so one basic submission move is called a Kimura.
This is a really weird place to start a shot. It's like, it's comfortable. Just a little odd.
It's not gonna be comfortable for long. Okay. All right, so you grab your opponent's wrist and you reach under their arm and grab your own wrist. And the idea is to twist like this to affect the shoulder, okay? Now, this submission is very popular. The problem with it is sometimes it's hard to get because your opponent, he's got it a little tight to his body. So if I tried to put my whole arm under there, it gets a little difficult to get my hand through. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to learn to just take this part of my wrist and I'm just going to rest it under his arm and I'm going to pull up and duck my hand under to grab my wrist. That's first.
Show that again, please.
Sure. I'm going to take this part of my wrist and I'm going to put it under his elbow. And I'm going to pull up on it and duck my hand through the hole that creates. As I pull up a little bit, I get just a little daylight. And whereas if I was just trying to shove my hand in there, it gets very difficult. He sees I kind of compressed this wrist. He knows what I'm going for, so he blocks me out here. So better if I just lift up on this just a little bit, duck your hand over, and then you catch your wrist, okay? Sometimes they're really, really stubborn with this, okay? What I do for this is I just kind of roll them here. I'll literally let go of their wrist, and I will just grab the point of their elbow and yank it up and take this and pop it under. This comes right down to cover. It'll still be there no matter what. So even if I have to yank this away from him and get this arm under there, everything just cuts right nicely back to the Kimura.
Now let's make this move unstoppable.
Another problem with the Kimura is sometimes when I go to apply the hold, fighter on the bottom, he's getting a little smarter now. Now he grabs it, he stops me, and we get into what I like to call a stalemated position. I can't get him, he's not doing anything with me. Man, 99 times out of 100, all you see is the guy on top, he finally just lets go and tries to do something else, and he moves into another position. That's what you call a stalemated position. Fighter on bottom, he feels safe. So what I decided to do was, I noticed I could take this leg and just kick out straight in front of my opponent and drive it next to him. Oh. I'm going to release this because now my leg is actually holding his arm. I'm going to base myself forward. I'm going to ask Trav to hold on as tight as he can. Okay. I really don't care. I still have this arm locked in here, and I'm going to move out to this direction, and I'm going to twist my hips together and move my leg down, and I still get the tap.
Now I'm sure you want to know what the hell's going on here, so let's have another look.
Okay, so once I lock the Kimura in, he's holding on. What I got to do is I got to transition my weight to my outside knee. So I literally just let my weight go to this knee because it allows me to kick up with this foot. And all I'm doing is just throwing a front kick to some invisible target somewhere over his legs. So I transition my weight and I just throw that front kick and I snap it back right to the position over his body where this arm was. So now this leg has now taken over what this arm was doing, locking it right in. This arm is still in there. This arm will now just base myself out. This foot will base out. And this foot here will just slide down and apply the lock just as if it was my arm. And no matter how tight he tries to hold on, he can't beat my hips and legs. It's just too much for him. If he holds on, I had a guy who was really strong once, maybe he could hold on for 10, 15 seconds tops, and then it's just gonna go.
Holding on doesn't even matter. The move is no longer about breaking the guy's hands apart. You'll finish it regardless. In fact, you want the guy to have his hands together.
Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a little hidden secret to make this move even more effective than you've already seen. I have the Kimura locked in, and I want him to hold on. How do I make him hold on? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give him a quick tug, which is gonna cause him to squeeze even tighter, which is exactly what I want. So I give him that quick tug, and then I throw the leg over, and because he's holding on, when I base out, I get the Kimura nasty with my legs.
I gotta tell you, it is nice to have an answer for any of those big muscly idiots who think they can just lock their hands on tight and be too strong to be tapped out.
So what happened there was I now developed an attack out of a stalemated move where he felt safe. Now I gotta ask you guys, when is it better to attack somebody than when they feel absolutely safe?
I mean, if the guy was just kind of dozing off.
There isn't a better time.
Oh. Okay. For anybody still watching, here's another couple details about the move.
Okay, another little caveat to this move is I might be dealing with a really strong guy under here. And he might just, even though I'm based out over here, he might just roll me over to this side. If this happens, I'm still okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure four my legs. I'm gonna take this hand and reach under this leg, and just to hold on to it, I'm gonna take this knee and I'm gonna move it forward. And the Kimura is still there.
And here's a behind the scenes look at Dan showing me how to get to this move from mount.
Okay, right from here, I could just literally push down on this arm. See?
Nice.
That's not the step over, but that's a Kimura.
Of course.
Okay.
Right.
Now, if I get this arm up and I lock it over my leg, taking this leg over here and wrapping this around here does the same thing.
Gotcha.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So getting this locked in, step up here, I'm locked right in.
Jesus Christ. Now, if you want a compilation of Dan's super secret vicious moves, don't worry. I'm coming out with one soon. And that title is not set in stone. Now you have a way to use your entire body against your opponent's one single arm. In this scenario, your opponent's strength and his size no longer matter.